we are going live from outside on my porch. And so I don't have a really big screen like I usually do when I'm facilitating from my laptop or desktop inside. So I can't see the chat box unless I intentionally like bring it up. So if you have questions today, I feel like everybody's pretty comfortable with how Zoom works. Just unmute yourself and ask me the question, because I'm not going to be able to, my hands are going to be dirty, I'm going to have gloves on, and it's going to be hard for me to go back and forth between the chat box. So let's just do it that way, okay? Before we get started with our leaf casting demo, Miss Lisa Riley, I think, wanted to say a few words to everybody. Lisa, are you on with us?
I am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, guys, I just wanted to apologize to those people that came last week to the book talk. There was some confusion with the link. If you went to the event tab on Facebook, there was a different link in the book talk. I have a University of Memphis Zoom account, and so I put my own link in there, and so we had 2 meetings going at once. So I just wanted to apologize to those of you that were with Celeste, and, not because of Celeste, but because you were probably just hanging there wondering, where is Lisa? But I do appreciate Celeste, and I appreciate those of you that read the book and had a discussion, and I just wanted to apologize, and I hope—
Oh, that's okay. That was okay. It was probably just as much my fault. I should have been better at communicating that. And I just think it's crazy. We had 2 book clubs happening at the same time, and we didn't even know
it. Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Celeste, for letting me say that today. And many of you enjoyed the talk last week, and you want to check out the book, just give me a holler, and we've got a couple at the library, and I can make curbside arrangements if you need it. All right.
And I think it would be fun to do this again, you know, in the future. We can just pick out some kind of book and we can just I think it would be fun to keep doing that. It kind of encourages me to get out there and read new things. You know, I have a whole list of horticulture topic related books. Now, they're not all like you know, some of them are more like, I don't want to say like reference books, but you know, not as like story-ish, but still I think that would be fun to do something like that, especially since we all like gardening and being outside in nature, and we could just, you know, that'd be a good way to force ourselves to read some of those books that all good horticulturalists should have read. I'm falling behind on the list.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think like maybe even a mix. You know, you could do like half of the meeting with maybe a story type book and more nonfiction. I think that might be fun. We had some suggestions in my meeting from participants of some other books that might be interesting. I don't know if you did in yours, but you know, those might be something to consider.
Good, fine. Okay.
All right.
Good deal.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Lisa.
You're
okay,
welcome.
So we are gathering today to learn a little bit about how to make leaf castings. And there are lots of like YouTube videos out there, and I'm sure a lot of you have maybe made these in the past, because let me get my first ever leaf casting that I made, and I want to show you how well it's held up all these years. So I'm sure many of you remember back in the day, they used to have these leaf casting workshops at Rita Randolph's nursery out there on Airways. And me and my mom, we went, this was probably, oh gosh, it had to have been like, I'm 35. I was probably like 16 or 17, you know, so it's been like 12 or 13 years since I made this. This was my, oh, and it's weird because I've painted on it. I'm going to talk to y'all about that later. But this is my first leaf casting that I ever made. And it is still holding up. And it just lays out in my garden. I move it from here to there all the time. And I have left it with this natural stone color all these years. But when I got into researching a little bit about how we may finish our projects a little more, I played around with some different techniques, and so I'm hoping to be able to show those to you today as well. So we're going to talk about how to actually make them. I'm going to show you some of the steps of the process. I've got some that I've previously made, so we're going to pick up at that point just so you can see the whole process all the way through. Just so you know, when you're making these at your home, it's going to take, it's like a 2 to 3 day process. So anyway, we're just going to jump right in. So let me, whoops, no ma'am, okay. So some of the supplies that you're going to need. You're going to need something hard and flat. I'm using this, it's like a knockoff Pampered Chef pizza stone, and it's not really good for cooking anything. Anytime I use it, stuff gets stuck on it. So I'm just going to use this as my base. You need something that's sturdy. We have used just pieces of wood, like sturdy plywood cut in large squares. If you're doing it with a group or have friends coming over, you may want to do that and have some prepared for them to use. I also use, you'll see some of the ones that I have already made up. I use like a pizza pan, and I just covered it, with plastic. It's not going to get messed up. You're going to be able to clean it up after this is all over. So you're going to need something solid and flat. It doesn't need to bend because there's going to be quite a bit of weight on here in the end, you'll see. So that's the first thing that we need to start with. Other things that we're going to need as far as products for our mix. You're going to need some sand, just basic. I just got some play sand here. Went to Lowe's, got some basic play sand. I've got it here in the bucket. And we're going to add water to this sand, okay? And you want it to be, when you're trying to make a really good sand castle and you need the sand to stick together, but you don't want it to be so heavy that it, it makes itself fall apart. That's the consistency that we're going for. I'm going to show you that here in a second. And that's going to be the base. The next item that you will need to purchase in order to make your project successful, let me see if I can turn my view around. That'll make it easier. Oh yeah, perfect. The next thing you're going to need is, it is a concrete patch. So what I've used in the past was made by Quikrete, and it was called Quikrete Vinyl Concrete Patch. However, okay, well, y'all just have to sit there and be quiet, okay? Kiddos are tired of playing in the water. So when I got to Lowe's to get my products, they don't carry Quikrete anymore. All they carry is Satcrete. And so I got an alternative product. I just took a chance. This is called Top and Bond Concrete Patcher. And thank goodness when I got it home and opened it up, it is the same product as what that Quikrete Vinyl Concrete Patch was. So this is what you are going to use. Now, if you get on the internet and search around, there's a lot of people do it a lot of different ways. Some people use the same concrete mixture that they use for making hypertufa, which involves mixing sand and some concrete products. Then still others just use regular Quikrete concrete mixes. But the reason I like this is because it's very, very fine. Let me show you what that looks like. Where am I? Here it is. So it's very fine. You can see this. I think you can. See how fine that is? And there are no rocks, pebbles, or what we might call aggregates in there. So this is going to make a really nice, fine textured finish to your leaf casting when you get done, and it's going to be able to show the most details of the veins of your leaves when we get done. Hold on, I've got children crying. What's going on, baby? What's up? What's happening?
Well, she tried to close the door and I had like
Oh, okay, well, y'all are fine. Get your towel. Get your towel, y'all. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Got got them set up inside, maybe they'll be okay. All right, so those are the things you need. Something sturdy, you need sand, you need the concrete patcher product, and you will need some saran wrap or any other kind of plastic, but I think saran wrap works really good for me. So this is how we're going to start. We are going, I've got some water. Mary Nanarilla, I don't know if you're on here or not, but this is your watering can. We used it for decorations at an event last year, and I never got it back to you. So sorry. So I'm going to add some water to this sand mixture. And I'm just going to mix it up. Okay, so you can see what I've got right here. This is still a little too dry for me. Especially if you're going to be doing a larger leaf, you're going to want this sand to be pretty sturdy. Okay, yeah, I'm liking this better. I'm liking this consistency a lot better. So this is what we're looking for. So we've got our sand ready. And I'm just going to bring this up here. Turn my view around again. I'm going to get the hang of this going back and forth before the end of the day. Okay, so now we're back at the table. I'm going to put the camera down on the project. Hopefully we can get it to where you can see everything. There, that's pretty good. And we're going to start mounding this sand up on our hard surface, okay? And depending upon the form of your leaf is going to determine what type of shape that we are going to need to mound our sand in. And also take into consideration like how concave you would like your leaf casting to be when you get done. If you're going to be using this as a like something that you hope will hold water to allow pollinators and other beneficial insects a place to kind of rest and get a little sip of water every now and then, you may want to make it more concave. So it just depends on what your use is going to be. Okay, so I've got a good shape going on here. I've got like an oval type shape. I know all the leaves that I have in my garden are probably going to fit this basic shape. And so now I'm going to take us on a little walking tour, and we're going to talk of my garden, and we're going to talk about what types of leaves to look for, okay? Because not all leaves are going to work. So, let me get my clippers. We're going to take those with us. Okay. So, as many of you I'm sure are aware, hosta leaves are great for doing leaf castings, okay? They have a really nice shape. They naturally, oh, I weed eated and got grass all over. They naturally have this kind of concave indent there towards the stem. So this is gonna work really nicely in leaf casting if that would be something that you would like to use. Also, it has a really nice veination. So this is gonna show up really well when we get our concrete patted on. And you'll understand when we get into it. But when you're looking at your leaves, you really need to look at the back of the leaf to see how prominent the veins are. They may look prominent on the front, but if you turn the leaf over and you can't feel these veins being raised, then that leaf isn't gonna work really well for you. Let me show you an example. I did one of a banana leaf right here. Dr. Sam's or Carol Sam's, if you're on here, thank you for my banana. Hardy banana. I have not planted it yet. So this leaf looks beautiful, okay? And it looks, you would think that it would, the veins would show up really well. But when you get to feeling of that leaf, the veins really do not stand up high enough to make a really good definition when you get to making your leaf casting. So we want to look for something that's going to have really interesting and unique leaf veins. So let's walk on over. What else do I have? Caladiums. Caladiums work really well. They have a similar shape to many of our hosta leaves. When you flip it over, again, you can feel how raised those veins are on the back of that leaf. So that would be suitable. Oh, hydrangea leaves, actually. They have pretty prominent veins on the back. Now, this particular hydrangea is really a small-leaved variety. This is a paniculata. But you can see how high these veins are raised. So that would make a really good selection. Also, oak leaf hydrangeas, they have a unique form. That would be really fun. I don't have any of those here in my garden yet, but one day I will. Now, this plant is really, really cool. It is called a cup plant. And I call it a cup plant because you see how the leaves, where they attach to the stem, they make a little indent that holds water. See that water in there? And so beneficial insects love this plant. They are always here visiting. I've even seen hummingbirds coming over here and getting a little drink every now and then. And I use this leaf to do one of our practice leaf castings I'm going to show you in a minute. And I hope that it turns out beautifully. Look at those veins. Look how large and prominent they are. What is going to be challenging is the edge of the leaf. You'll understand why when we get into that. So leaves that have a lot of definition and shape on the outer edges could prove to be more difficult. Another leaf that I think would be really fun to attempt to do would be, this is a cut leaf coneflower. You can see it's got some really, really nice veins on the back of it. And it's just has a unique shape. See how kind of crazy and funky the leaves are? But again, you'd have to be very patient and ready to work with those rough edged leaves, trying to get that to look really good. What else? Oh, this would be nice if you just wanted something small. Now this is a red twig dogwood, but can you see the veins on the back of that? How high they stand up. That would make a really, really nice leaf casting. Let's see. So here's one that you may think would be cool at first, the hardy ginger, but really it's in the same boat as that hardy banana leaf we were looking at. The leaves are really, really pretty, but they just don't have prominent, their veins aren't prominent enough. Ooh, here's one more. I'm going to show you one more, and then we'll go back and actually do some leaf casting. So this is a viburnum arrow, well, they call it arrow leaf or maple leaf viburnum. And that would make a really, really nice leaf casting if you picked some of the larger leaves. Now there's lots of itty bitty leaves down here. Of course, that'd be tedious and you wouldn't want to do that. Another, I don't have any to show you, but I've seen them made out of elephant ears, those big, huge Thai giants. Those would be really cool to use if you needed a standout feature in the garden, or if you were trying to, I wanted to show y'all this picture, but I didn't put together a PowerPoint for today. It was gorgeous. They used 3 different leaf castings. They were different sizes, obviously, and they had situated them and attached them to like an old wooden, maybe like a 2x6 or something like that. And they had one of them at the top, kind of tilted down. And then the next one they had turned at a different angle and tilted it down. And then they had one at the very bottom. And whenever it rained, the rain would collect in the top one and overflow into the second and then overflow into the third. So that's just another idea of some really fun, creative things that we can do with leaf castings. You know, they don't just have to lay on the ground in the garden. Oh, and I forgot to get a leaf. Let me go grab a leaf. We're looking at all those leaves and I didn't even get one. Okay, I'm back.
Celeste,
Yes.
where was that on the internet that you saw that one you just described with the multiple leaves and the,
Yes.
huh?
Yes, it was. It was on the internet. It was just like, I think I just,
Do you know what the website address was, or some way I'd be able to find it with a search, what it was called or something?
I was on Pinterest and I had typed in for my search words, I had put like leaf casting garden art, I think is how I phrased
Okay.
it. Yes.
All right, I'll give that a try. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Celeste,
Yes, ma'am.
how about the kind of plant or leaves?
No, I think canna would probably fall in that same category as those banana leaves. I just don't think the veins are prominent enough to get a good.
Okay.
My phone is kind of crooked in this holder. There we go. Okay, so I just picked a hosta leaf because they're easy to work with, and that's what you want to pick. You want to pick something that's easy when you're starting out. You don't want to get discouraged, okay? And I picked one out that had some imperfections because I wanted to show you how easy it is to fix some of those. So this duct tape can be your friend, okay? So we've got this hole here. I'm going to patch it. I'm going to patch that hole up with a little piece of duct tape. When we cast this leaf, remember the concrete is going to go on the back side of the leaf. So when we patch, we need to patch on the front side of the leaf so that we don't actually see the pattern of the, you know, little square piece of tape. Okay, so I've got it patched up. There's the front side. This is the back side here. So I've got that hole patched up. Now we've got another little one right here that I probably need to fix. And then I need to do something about the edge there. I don't know if y'all remember, but when I gave the talk about integrated pest management and, you know, natural pest control in the garden, I told you how high my threshold was for plant damage, right? So you can see I don't do lots of insect treatments and things of that nature. Okay, so for the edge, I'm going to do it a little differently because I want to make sure you can tell right here that it actually ate through one of our veins. And I don't want that to show up on the leaf casting. So I'm just taking another leaf that's of the same type. And I'm going to patch that with this actual leaf, okay? So I'm going to work from the front side. Let me put it down like this so you can see. Working from the front side. I'm going to line up a leaf vein. I want to make sure that that's right. I think that's the one I'd like to do right there. So I hope you can tell, I can't really zoom in. Maybe I can pick it up. I've attempted to line up the veins of my patch with the direction of the veins of my actual leaf. But now you can tell I did that. Now I have all this weird stuff hanging out on the side. Well, that's okay. I'm just going to take my pruners. I'm just going to clean that up. Actually, I'm just going to use my fingers. Or maybe I will use my fingers. I wish I had a little pair of scissors out here, but I don't. Okay. So now you see what we're left with is really nice. We're going to still be able to see the vein and have a leaf edge. So we've got this one all patched up and ready to go. Here's my mound of sand that we mounded up earlier. And I'm just going to position my leaf. Actually, you might have to play with it a little bit until you get happy with it. I think I'm going to go in this direction. And I want to add a little more on this end just so that we get a little more shape. I don't like the whole thing to be exactly even. You want it to look natural. And nature isn't perfect. That might be a little too obvious. Let's do it like that. All right. So from here, I'm going to just cut this stem off so that I don't have to worry about it getting in my way all the time. And it's okay. You can see over here where my fingers are on these hosta leaves. They kind of come up. It's fine. Don't be really paranoid about trying to press that down. Just let it lay naturally. And fold. I usually fold the leaf over right there where they naturally want to overlap themselves. Okay. So this is looking good. It's a little strange on the tip. Let me add a little sand down here at the end. You want the entire leaf to be supported by sand. Okay, good. So you can see what a mess I've made of my leaf. And you can see all this sand on here. If you leave that on there, when you make your impression, you're going to see all that. All that's going to show up. So once you get it situated, clean your leaf off. Just shake it off. And then I like to put a piece of plastic down over your sand. And this is just going to help you lift the leaf when it gets time to take it off the mold. And it also, oops, here we go. It's going to help you lift the leaf and protects your whatever you're using as your base. And it also keeps, you're going to have some cement fall off, kind of roll off the edges as you get started. Or not as you get started, when you get to the edges and are trying to get those done up really well. And if you have it covered, if you have the sand covered, then you can easily pick those pieces of concrete up and add them back. That one wasn't big enough. Without getting sand mixed into the concrete, if that made sense. Okay. I have this circular base here, so I use 2 pieces of plastic just so I can make sure and protect that stone. Okay? All right, so we've got our sand mound, we've got it covered with plastic. Now, I've also seen people who put the leaf down and then put the plastic on top of the leaf, But I don't like doing that because if there are any wrinkles in the plastic, that's going to show up in your leaf casting. Because remember, we're depending on these veins to create all of our definition. So I prefer to put the plastic down first. Now we situate our leaf. The plastic also kind of helps hold your leaf in place once you get it where you like it. Kind of grabs onto it, cling wrap. Okay, and now we're ready to add the concrete mixture. So there is no perfect formula. For doing this, I'm going to move this so y'all, I've got a really small work area. So I got the hiccups. I'm just repurposing some old pots I had here on the potting table. I put some tape on the bottom so that the concrete mixture wouldn't fall through those holes. And I'm just using this to scoop it out of the bag and put it in here. Also, you might not want to use a container that's real valuable to you. This is just a plastic. It's actually supposed to be a disposable paint tray, you know, that you'd use with a paint roller. But I didn't throw it away because I'm cheap. And so I washed it out and I saved it. And so that's what I'm going to use to be mixing the concrete mixture in. And when I did this a few days ago, it worked perfectly. I rinsed it out when I got done and can continue to reuse that. So for a leaf the size that I picked out, it's going to take only about 2 or 3 of these little cupfuls of mortar to get you started. I've got 2 in here already. I'm going to add 1 more. Okay. Okay, next we're going to add some water. And, well, okay, next we're going to add some water. I tried to measure it out the other day so I could give y'all some proportions, but I couldn't really come up with anything. The closest that I could get was like maybe a one part water to like 8 parts mortar. So there's really no good way to measure that. So I'd say start with just a little water and start mixing. Because once you've gone, if you go too far with the water, then you have to add more mortar. Because if it gets too wet and it's too loose, it's not going to work properly. Okay, we need more water. Soaked it up pretty good. Okay. And what we're shooting for is the consistency of a thick brownie batter. That was the first thing that came to my head when I was trying to figure out ways to describe it to you guys. Thick brownie batter. We're getting close, but still I can see a lot of that light color. And it's not holding up well. Add just a little more. Keep mixing. You definitely don't want it to be soupy. Yesterday, when I did a few of these, I just finally gave up on the spoon mixing and put a glove on. Just get in there, because it's going to have a few little quads, and you want those to get broken up. So it's good to just get in there with your hands. Make sure you get it all incorporated. Don't let any of that dry mortar hang out in the bottom of the pan. This is really close. So you can see how I can squeeze it in my hand and it keeps its form. This is really close to what I'd like, but I just want an itty bitty bit more, not much. Just a little more. And you may find that if you have a really intricate leaf with some of those unique leaf margins that we talked about, it may be easier for you to work with a looser mixture. Or if you want a finer product, you want a thinner layer on the leaf, it's going to be easier to achieve those thin layers, really thin layers with a looser mixture. But I like it like this. Okay, so I think that's going to work for us. Let me make room and put my leaf back over here. Oh no, don't fall. Okay, trying to decide how y'all could best see it. Maybe like this. Okay, so we've got our leaf. We're ready to start applying the concrete mixture. And I usually just start on the midrib. Kind of gives you some weight, holds the leaf down. Don't push too hard because that's going to change the foundation of your sand. So you don't want to push too hard. And I can already tell, you see all these cracks that I have in it? That means that it's not wet enough. It's okay, you don't have to freak out. Just take that off, add a little more water. We don't want cracks because those little cracks will turn into hairline fractures when the concrete begins to set because it shrinks as it dries. Yep, we just needed about 1 or 2 tablespoons more water. You see that mixture? I made a little pancake out of it. Now that's perfect for me. There's no right or wrong way. You find what works for you, and that's what you go with. Usually they say that you want to shoot for about a 1/2 inch thickness on your leaf casting for the majority of the leaf surface, and then get smaller towards the edges, more around 1/4 inch. But I'm not that talented, so mine tend to be pretty thick and just right up to the edge. And I might at the end come back and slope it off a little with my hand. Can you see? Well, you'll be able to see it on this side how I'm taking care of the edge. But basically, I hold one hand here to make sure that the concrete mixture does not extend off of the leaf. If it does, then you're going to have to go back and do a lot of finishing work. And that's okay. But I can show you how to do that. But it's just going to... Oh, no. Can you get you and your sister a little snack?
Chocolate chips.
A few, okay? Not many. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Where are those chips that we had the other day for lunch?
They're in the cabinet where all the chips are.
I'll just get us a snack of that.
That's a good idea. That would be really good. Okay?
Yeah. But how am I going to get the ball? Should I just bring the whole thing, or should I put them in bowls?
I would put them in bowls, and the bowls are on the counter because I washed dishes this morning, remember?
Oh yeah.
My dishwasher broke, y'all. Gah. I'm going back to the days of hand washing. For the first 7 years that Cody and I were married, the rental that we lived in did not have a dishwasher, and that's always been one chore that I dread more than all others. So I was so happy when we built our house and I got a dishwasher. But do not fear, I got one on sale during the Labor Day holiday. It's just had to be ordered. It's not here yet. It's shaping up for us, y'all. Are you being patient? I know it's weird to watch somebody else do it and you want to be doing it. I know you do. I wish we could all done it as a group like we had originally planned and everybody could come with one, but we can still do it. It'll just have to be later. We can still do it together. And you guys will be my you'll be my ones that are already trained on how to do it. And so y'all can help me teach everybody else. Okay, so now you can see better on this edge. I'm holding the edge of my hand right along the contour of this smooth leaf edge. And then just trying to work it in to the body of the leaf. There we go. And I kind of pat it in my hand before I put it on the leaf just to kind of, you know, get it in the shape that I'm hoping to achieve. So it doesn't get on there and then I've got way too much concrete, you know. I mean, you can always take it off, but and it might be easier for you to do this, especially your first time with like latex gloves on. These are just like dishwashing gloves. That's all I could find. So I don't have, you know, I can't feel a lot, but it's going to help you to be able to feel what's happening through your glove.
Celeste,
Yes, ma'am.
how long does it take the concrete to set?
Oh, that's a good question. So I did the two I'm going to show you here in a minute. I did them yesterday afternoon at about 5, and I left them outside to dry, and I made sure they were in the sun this morning when the sun came up, and they are cured enough, like they're hard, they're solid, and they're cured enough for us to do some finishing work on them. But before, if I was going to paint them or put a water seal or anything like that on them, I would let them dry for at least another, 2 days probably. But I'm going to show y'all some paint techniques. Hopefully, if I don't take forever doing this. On the ones that I've already done, and it may soak the paint up. You see what I'm saying? But if it's not fully cured, it's going to soak the paint up a lot more than it normally would. But that's okay, because I just want to kind of show y'all the basic technique for some of the styles, finishing styles.
Celeste, do you ever use concrete dyes?
I never have, and I've looked for some yesterday because I thought, well, that'd be fun. That'd be something new for me, and just something fun to experiment with. but I couldn't find any. And I was at Lowe's, and I just didn't have time to go all over God's green earth looking for it.
Sure.
What, baby?
Should be straightforward though, right? Just mix it in when you're mixing the concrete.
Yes, yes. It's like a
Okay.
powder. And you would have added that at the same time when we were adding the water to the concrete mixture. So this is something else that was a kind of a new thing that I found a week or so ago when I was going through YouTube. I had never thought about making like foundations on the underside of the leaf. Like if I knew that I wanted this leaf to be held at a certain angle and not have to, you know, rummage around and find a rock or something to shove up underneath it, you can just go ahead and make your own little base. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm gonna do. I want the skinny part of my leaf to be closer to the ground, and I want the concave side to be kind of lifted up. So I'm just building it up right here. I'm gonna try to smooth it just a little bit. There's a dip right there, that won't do me any good. Okay, so that's gonna be my little footer, if you will. I'm just gonna smooth it there. Okay, so once you think you're good, give it a few more pats, because that pressure pushing down on those ribs of the leaf, you know, is what is going to ensure that we get the good dimensions that we're looking for, the good detail. So I don't really like patting it because I feel like it messes the sand form up, but I do just like push it, you know, just kind of give it a little push there. Okay, so I think this guy is done for now. All he has to do is wait about a day. We just have to let him wait and let him cure out. Let me take these gloves off. Okay, I'm going to put this guy aside and bring in one of the castings that I did yesterday. Okay, so this is one that I did late yesterday evening. And you can tell it's changed color. Remember how dark gray that mortar was that we were looking at a minute ago? Now we have a lot of this lighter color. Now, when it is fully cured, it will all look like this. Okay, so you see we still have some darkness in there. And that's okay for what we're going to do, because if you think that you're going to need to do a lot of finishing work, like around the edges or anything like that, now would be the time to do it while the concrete isn't, you know, solid as a rock. I will say, however, this first one that I showed you that I made 13 years ago, can you see how rough the edges are here all around there? And that's because I wasn't super careful when I laid the concrete along the edge of my leaf, and I never really worried about it. It didn't bother me, and it might not bother you, but if you are really wanting something really, you know, artistic and to have a certain effect, you may want that edge to look more like this. So even though this one has been finished and obviously cured for several years, I came in earlier this morning and cleaned my edges up, and it worked fine. So I'm not saying that if you wait until it's fully cured, you've missed your opportunity. I'm just saying it's going to be easier to handle at this stage. So now, the plastic, see how I can just pull the plastic up right here? So that helps you get your leaf off. And y'all, I have not looked at them yet. So I hope they turned out good. I haven't looked at it yet. Get this out of the way. I'm gonna support it on the back side with my hand. You just never know. and remove your plastic. And you can see what this looks like. So obviously I did not do an excellent job following the edge of my leaf. And this is essentially what I did way back when I made that first leaf. But that's okay because we can fix it. Not a big deal. Okay? So what we're going to do now is peel the leaf off. And it should come off pretty easily. This particular leaf had a really concave area where the stem was. Can you see right here? It was like really deep. So there's a little bit of leaf still actually stuck in there, but that's okay. It'll come out. Let me broom my workstation off real quick. Oop. There we go. Okay, so some tools that you may like to help you finish things up. A little wire brush can be helpful. A really tough grit. This is like one of the coarsest grit sandpaper blocks I could find. Pliers. I wish, little ones would work better. But my hubby must have taken my little ones out of my work bag because all I could find was these. And then you may want a few just like little tools to help in nooks and crannies and things like that. So I'm going to put my gloves, my garden gloves on, because this can be kind of rough on your hands. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come in with the wire brush and just really get on it right here where you can see some of this leaf got left on there. You see how easy it just comes right off, see? You can see all the dust that's being created. That's all right. Just give it a good rub. Take my little brush and brush that dust out. You can tell I ended up with kind of a kind of weird fold on the leaf, and that just had to do with like the excess leaf tissue. I was pushing it down and trying to make it conform, but that's okay because I think it just gives it character and makes it really cool. So I hope you can see the veins. I think you can. You got a lot of definition from the veins. I probably could have pressed a little harder down here towards the end. You see how they get faint along the edges? So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing yours. I may go back to the one we just did and kind of press a little harder around the edges to make sure that we get that venation there around the edge. And I also like this, how it kind of gives that ruffle effect. If you have excess leaf tissue, I think that's really neat and decorative. So I'd leave that. Okay, so we've done that initial kind of scrub down. You don't have to do any of this. I'm just saying if you want to cutesy it up a little bit, these are some things you can do. Then take your pliers and you can just go around the edge where you've got some weird jagged areas, and all you have to do is just kind of clamp down and it comes right off. And let me tell you, this is coming off much easier than my 13-year-old leaf casting that I cleaned up this morning. So this is definitely the way to go if you've got to do some cleanup. And if you mess up or a piece falls off that you didn't anticipate to fall off, that's all right. because we can always smooth that up with our sanding block. And I'm taking off quite a bit because I went over the edge of my leaf quite a bit. That's just because I was, you know, had 2 kids that were trying to help me. They were like, oh, this is so fun. I was like, oh, I'm glad you think so. I hoped that they would be more help for me today, but they didn't last very long. This is so crazy, y'all. I feel like I'm like a vlogger. Oh yeah, that one came right off. For the sake of time, I'm only going to do half of this one because I also want to show you the other one that I did yesterday too, and then a few more finishing techniques. But I do want you to see the difference of the finished edge. Look at all this here that I'm taking off. So much. Maybe you can see it better if I do it there. Now you can see it. What side was on? This side. See, none of that was supposed to be on there. It's just where I went over. Okay. In front. I'm working backwards because I wanted y'all to see it, but then I realized I wasn't really like looking at what I was doing. So if you think that you were too thick on the edge, remember how I told you I don't do really well at thinning it out as I get towards the edge? You can actually, you know, take your pliers and just kind of chip away at some of that thickness right there at the edge if you think that it looks weird. But, you know, if you're going to be looking at it from the top, you may not ever even notice it. So we've gotten that off. I'm going to come in with my sanding block, go over these rough edges, and then I'm going to see a few more places that need to be taken down. Okay, so I think you're going to be able to tell a really big difference in this finished edge and then this one over here on this side. And you may like this side better. And like I said, that's fine. You can leave it like that if you'd like. But I just wanted to give you some options in case you're wanting to kind of shape things up a little bit before you really get in there. Now, I've used little tools like this to kind of get in the veins occasionally. Sometimes you may not think that your vein was defined enough, like you didn't press hard enough, and that's okay. You can actually take something like this and trace over it to make it a little deeper. And I think that's actually going to make this one look a lot better. Yes, baby.
You're done and we're eating lunch. Make sure you turn off the water.
Okay, I will.
It's still.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay.
How'd you make that?
I know, it's cool, right? Nope. Mm-mm, not yet. I'm gonna use this smaller one. That one was a little big.
I hope you brush it, Mom.
Not right now, baby, okay? We're trying to do this little class right here. Okay. All right, so I think that helped a lot. Trying to get some more definition, especially down here where I hadn't pressed as hard. So you can tell that that went a long way. So those are a few finishing steps that you could take. Now I'm going to, before we move on to demonstrating some of the painting techniques, I want to show you the other cast that I made, and I have never attempted to do one like this. It was that cup plant leaf that I was showing you that had all those spikes on the margins. So we're about to find out how that worked. I may not have tackled it in the proper fashion, but we shall see. Are you eating chips? Good girl.
Chocolate chip.
Okay.
Chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. Oh, Bubba gave you chocolate chips. I thought y'all were eating like chips. Okay, so this is the form. This is the one I made of that cut plant, and I didn't do a good job. I just wasn't sure how to tackle it. Oh no, my battery's going low. That means I have to hurry. So I wasn't sure really how to tackle this situation here. I attempted to, as I was forming the edge, I would form it and then like stick my finger where one of the indents was and tried to leave a point. Now I may find that these are too weak and that they end up chipping off, and then it makes the whole thing, you know, doesn't make a lot of sense to do it that way. So we may find out that I had rather made the entire edge smooth out to the extent of the tips of the toothed edges, and then come back in with the little pliers or nippers and nip those indents into the edge. That may be the best way to do that, but we're fixing to find out. Uh-oh. I think it's cracked. Uh-oh. I also tried to make this one much thinner than what I normally do. So I was just all the way around, I was challenging myself to go outside of what I was comfortable with and try something new. Ew, the leaf started to kind of decay, so it's not coming off really well. The tip cracked and fell off, but that's okay. I can fix it. Don't worry if your leaf cracks. I mean, it shouldn't crack. Obviously, I didn't prepare it properly. Oh, the whole thing cracked. Well, I can't fix that. Ah. I just made it too thin. I might be able to fix it. I might be able to glue those babies back together. Anywho, while we're here talking about it, let me put aside all those scrap pieces, and we'll look at the edge and kind of evaluate how that works. So if you attempt something like this at home, maybe you'll have a better idea of how to go about it. So,
I like the edges on that.
isn't that pretty?
Those are gorgeous.
So maybe it worked out better than I thought it would.
Yeah.
They are very fragile though. So, I mean, I don't feel like these edges are gonna, well, I know they're not gonna stay sharp like this, you know, through the ages out in the garden. But still, I'm gonna try to just kind of, with my fingers, break off some of the weaker spots and let's see. Clean it up a little. Don't go too crazy with your wire brush like I just did. I pressed really hard and then I messed up some of my leaf veins. But you can tell that this leaf worked really, really well for making the veins. Look how nice and deep they were. I knew they were because they stood up so high. But, so it looks like we may have a winner on how to do the jagged edges. We shall see. So, I'll update y'all on how that works for gluing it back and all the whatnot, because I'm definitely not going to throw it away. I'm going to try to save it and do something with it anyway. Side note, if you
What
do
kind
a
of
large,
glue do you use, Celeste?
ma'am?
What kind of glue do you use to glue it back together?
Yeah, I'll just probably use like I've got that what's it stuff called? It's not super glue. Oh, Gorilla Glue.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
you've never had this problem before?
No, I've never done it before. I've never had that problem before. I think it's because I tried to make it so thin. Can you see how thin
Yeah.
I was trying to make it? Like that's probably less than 1/4 of an inch in thickness. I was trying to make it really thin. Just challenging myself there. So if you're gonna do a really large project, so if you have a huge elephant ear, you might want to reinforce that with some wire mesh, so some just fine hardware cloth, you know, that you can get at the hardware store. Something else really cool that I thought about doing, you know how a Lenten rose leaf is kind of like palmately fashioned where the leaflets come off from the center point. Thought it might be really neat if we used like some wire, just like fence bracing or something that I just had laying around in the barn, and used that and kind of laid it as the main veins that went down each leaf, and then laid the leaf on top of those metal pieces, but allowed them to be exposed so that when you pull it up, you actually see that metal. I thought that might be really cool. So just kind of trying to inspire y'all on a few things. Oh, or wire hangers. That just popped up on the chat. Or maybe wire hangers. That'd be something cool. Bend those and use those. They'd be really nice and sturdy. Great class. Oh, thank you. Okay, so I wanted to show y'all. We may be running out of time. I'm not sure what time is it. Can someone tell me where we're at on time?
1:16.
1:16?
Yes.
Holy moly! Okay. Well, thank you for attending. I was going to show y'all these paint techniques, and I guess I'll go ahead and do it. For those who want to stay, but for those who can't, I understand, and I'm so sorry. I had no idea it would take this long. But I do want to show y'all these, if that's okay, but I understand if you need to leave.
That's
okay.
Okay. We
Okay.
love it. That's
Okay, good. good. So let me get mine.
Very nice class.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, baby. Bubby got you chocolate chips. That was nice. Okay. So let me take my gloves off. I don't need those on for this. So the two paint techniques that I was going to just kind of go over quickly was one of them is just called a dry brush. And so as you can imagine, you put some paint on your brush, you load your brush, but not as heavily as you normally would. And then you brush quite a bit of it off. And then then that's what you apply to the leaf. And when we do that method, they suggested starting with a darker base coat and then layering on lighter colors as you go along to catch the highlights of the higher areas of the leaf. That way all your depressions, like inside your veins, are all going to have that darker color on them. That makes sense. The other one is just called a color wash. So you take the paint, you dilute it in some water, and then sponge it on. Well, you paint it on and then you sponge it off with a sponge that's been like wrung out, dipped in water and then wrung out. And then you just wipe that off, and you can wipe as much or as little off as you'd like. And you can also layer colors in that fashion. And of course, you can do it any way you want, get creative with it, but they suggested starting with a lighter base in that situation and layering on with darker colors as you go along. Because you can imagine if you are applying a very watery paint and then wiping off lightly with a sponge, those darker colors are going to remain in the crevices and you're wiping off of the higher raised areas. So it makes sense to do each in that fashion. So just kind of wanted to show you, this was that old leaf that I've had forever. And earlier today, I coated, you're going to use acrylic paint. I should point that out. You want to just use regular, acrylic craft paint. And I put a dark base on here. This was a black. I squirted in some dark green just to kind of get those green undertones. And I covered it really well. And I tried to get down in all of the veins. And then as my brush was getting empty, I just continued to brush it in on this side. This was the unfinished side, the one that I didn't, correct the edges on. And you can see this is a good example of how the dry brush really works, because that color is only being applied to these higher raised area of the leaf and the vein isn't being touched. So I wanted to fill my veins in with the darker color over here. So now, oh baby, what are you doing? Why'd you put this up here?
Because I just put it up here, so I used to.
Okay, well don't touch it, okay? Don't touch that stuff. Okay, sorry. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush on this darker side some dark green and see what it looks like, okay? And it may actually prove wise to have a better quality brush to do this. I've never done this before, but I'm loading and then I'm brushing off and then I'm brushing on. And I watched some folks do this on some demonstrations, and this can take a long time because it's a slow process. You're layering, okay? So you don't want to throw it all on and then wish you hadn't done that. So, I mean, some people were taking 10 and 15 minutes, per color when they were trying to build up their layers. But we're not going to do that. Don't worry. I'm just trying to do a little quick demo so you can see. And yes, I wish maybe I had used a better quality brush because the bristles are coming out and they're getting stuck on the leaf. So that's not cool. That's all right. Can you see how we're building up some green color on there? I hope you can. I mean, it's evident to me, but I know things don't always show up on
Can I help you do that?
no, baby. You can help me later. We can play with the ones that we made, okay? Me and you.
Oh
But not right now.
no. Mommy,
Yes.
you're just gonna let that soak in
I am.
because it's green.
Yeah. It's pretty cool,
That's
huh?
black.
Yeah.
That's green. And tell me that green,
Oh, I know you want to help, baby. Can y'all help me later after I get done doing teaching class? Y'all can help me do those. That'd be fun, won't it?
color?
So this is getting really, really pretty. Somebody tell me, can you see the contrast of colors on here? Can you turn your microphone on and tell me?
Yes,
You can?
yes.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
And so I'm going to go one step further with this. I'm going to add like a chartreusey kind of green, but I'm only going to do it on the insides, like from the mid-rib. Stop, baby. I love you guys, but it's just easier when y'all are inside, okay?
What is this color?
It's black.
It's black, but this is green black.
Well, yeah, that's green. You get green black when you mix green and black. Green and black. Green and the black. Green and black. Green and black. You're singing a little song about it for me. Okay, so now I've got this chartreusey kind of appley green.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, Ellie says. Oh.
Me like it. Me like it.
Me like it. Me like it. Me like it. Me like you a lot. I like it too. That's not your granddad. No.
I'm Gabia. I'm Gabia. I'm Gabia. I'm Gabia. I'm Gabia.
Your own what?
I'm Gabia.
Your own Gabia? No, baby. Not your granddad. He's probably at home eating lunch. Okay. Look how cool this is looking. Do y'all like that?
Yes.
Looks really cool.
Beautiful.
Doesn't that look neat? And so you can just be creative and like just come up with your own color mixtures and just play with things. And I think, I mean, obviously I'm going to work on this some more, but at the end I saw a guy that he actually just got some white and hit just really lightly on top of basically everything after he had it the way he wanted it. And it added, I thought he was going to ruin it, but it added the best highlights. Like it made everything else, all the other colors, like stand out even that much more, just because there were little touches of white on the very highest areas of the leaf. So that is a fun thing. So now I'm just gonna kind of test out the sponge technique over here on this side.
So the acrylic paint is water or weatherproof?
Yes, so after you get done and your paint completely dries, you're going to want to seal it with a Thompson's water seal and a spray can. I mean, I just get the spray can because it's easier to apply for small projects like this. But you're definitely going to want to do that. And also, while we're here, I'll mention the back. So don't worry about doing the back while you're getting your artistic designs and everything on the front, because you may end up with some dripping on the edges, especially when you use the color wash technique. So just wait until you get this all done and the front's all dry, and then you can come back and do a solid color on the back. Or, you know, you may want to attempt some of those same color patterns that you did on the front on the back if the back of the leaf is going to be exposed, like if you're hanging the leaf or you're using it in one of those garden art designs that we had talked about earlier, like a fountain or a rain chain or something like that. So come back and take care of the back of your leaf later. Do about 2 coats of this, like do 1 coat on the front, let it dry, flip it over, do a coat on the back, let it dry, and then do that again. So you want at least 2 coats of that Thompson's Water Silk. This is a neat color combination. I mean, it's nothing I've ever seen in nature before, but they did one in these tints of blue, and they started with a really dark base. It was almost black. And I saw them doing this actually with the other technique that we used first. So I'm not sure. I'm not really liking that. Let's go. Stop. Don't touch that. So I'm going to go with their suggestion and start with a light color. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch that, baby. It won't come off. Ugh. Let me see. So to get your initial coat on there, they didn't use a sponge. They just used a brush to do the initial base coat. I'm going to use this super, super bright turquoisey blue. It's one of my favorite colors. Make sure you get down in the veins and all of those crevices. No, ma'am. We need something, Mom. You're just helping. She's just helping, y'all. That's all. I mean, just helping. She a good helper, girl, aren't she, sweetie? What? Where's Ladybug? He went inside. You didn't know that? No, I didn't know that. No. Okay.
Here you go.
Thanks, that's good. Okay, so we've got our base of this lighter blue color on there. And I know they said to let it dry, but for sake of time, we're not going to. We're going to break all the rules. So I'm going to get my sponge wet, and I'm going to wring it out really well. So I've wrung out all the water. Shouldn't be dripping. Okay, so we've got our moist sponge. Then I've got the darker blue, and I'm going to add it, not too much, to some water.
Where are those sponges?
And mix it up. And you've got a color wash.
Where's all the sponges?
You dip it in. Oh wait, I did that wrong. You don't dip that in.
Just washing this paintbrush out because we have blue paint.
Let me see that, please.
Not even.
Okay. You take your brush and you paint on the color wash. And then you come back with your sponge and lightly remove the wash. And I don't think that it's going to work right because my base coat didn't dry good enough. But you get the general idea of what's going on here. And also, I don't think I used enough of a color contrast between that light blue and this darker blue. The one that I saw done as an example had a chartreuse base, and they came in with a dark green, so it really stood out. And then he came back on top of that with almost a black, and so was only hitting those upper edges with the black. And it was really, really pretty. So just making sure that you use some really good contrasting colors when you do this. And this is the basic method. You make your color wash up. You do a base color. You let it dry. You brush on the color wash, and then you sponge the color wash off. And you can leave as much or as little as you'd like to on there. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I had for today. I know we went like way over, but I know everybody was having a good fun time. I know I was. And so I'm sad to say that this is our last official Art and Garden series because I've had so much fun with it. But dun, 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 Darlene Tanner had a really cool idea. She showed me this really cool garden hanging sparkle thing that she made for her garden, and we are going to do a live demonstration on how to assemble those and put them in your garden. And that is going to be, we're not doing it on Thursday at noon. It's going to be next Friday, and I think we're going to do it at like 10 o'clock in the morning. So I will put that on the Art and Garden Facebook page. So I know it wasn't part of our official plan, but it is still very artsy and very gardeny and goes along with our theme. And so I hope you all can join us for that. And I look forward to seeing you next Friday.